She said it was harmless. Just texting. She shrugged, like it meant nothing. But lies rarely show up at your door wearing horns. They wear comfort. Normalcy. A casual grin over morning coffee. It started a few weeks earlier. She got oddly protective of her phone. Not paranoid. Not obvious. Just different. She turned its screen down more often. Took longer in the bathroom. Smiled at nothing, then quickly locked the screen. At first, I told myself what every man tells himself when he doesn't want to start a war. It's probably nothing. We were solid. Or at least I thought we were. 23 years together. We'd buried her father, raised a daughter, survived 2 job losses and 1 near divorce. We had earned our peace. Or so I believed. One night, as she cooked, her phone buzzed on the counter. I wasn't snooping. I was setting the plates. But the screen lit up, and one word caught my eye. Photo incoming from Marcus. Not Mom. Not Linda from work. Not even an emoji heart next to a saved contact. Marcus. I didn't touch the phone. I didn't need to. Because that name hit like a nail through the floorboards. Marcus was my oldest friend. Not close anymore. Life happens. But we'd served together. Gone fishing together. He danced at our wedding. And now, he was sending my wife photos. I said nothing that night. I just watched her stir the sauce and talk about her day like the ground hadn't shifted under our feet. Men like me don't explode. We calculate. After she fell asleep, I opened my laptop, logged into the phone bill account, and saw just how many times Marcus had been texting my wife. What I found made the room go still. Phone records don't cry. They don't explain. They just show you numbers, and those numbers cut cleaner than any knife. 146 messages in 2 weeks. Not scattered. Not random. Consistent. Lunchtime. Late night. 4-minute calls when she was going for a walk. A rhythm. Not a mistake. This wasn't curiosity. It was commitment. Marcus. The man who once slept on my couch after his wife kicked him out. The man I vouched for. Brought into my home. Poured a drink for on his darkest night. The man I taught to shoot. Now sending photos to my wife. I didn't know what the photos were. I didn't have to. Because the imagination is crueler than the truth. And the silence between them? That was already loud enough. The next morning, she made scrambled eggs. Asked me if I wanted toast. Same routine. Same tone. She even smiled when she said, "You're quiet today." "I'm thinking," I said. She nodded like it meant nothing. And maybe to her, it didn't. But to me? Every fork scrape, every footstep, every buzz of her phone was a new echo of the question I hadn't said out loud yet. Why him? Not just betrayal. Personal betrayal. You give a man a place at your table. He feeds off your plate, and while you're out working to keep the roof on, he's texting your wife beneath it. I remembered something she said 2 weeks earlier, at a dinner with friends. Someone had asked, jokingly, "So is Marcus still single?" She laughed. Looked at me. "He texts me sometimes. Dumb stuff. Just lonely, I guess." And I laughed too. Like a fool. Because I thought she was being kind. I thought I was being secure. I was being replaced. In plain sight. At night, after she fell asleep, I did what I never thought I'd do. I texted Marcus from her phone. "Hey, you up?" I sat there in the dark, holding her phone. Thumb hovering. Breathing slow. I waited 5 minutes. Then 10. At 12:14 a.m., the screen lit up. Marcus. "Always. What are you wearing?" I stared at it. Not surprised. Not angry. Just grounded. Like the ground I thought we were standing on wasn't real, just painted plywood. I didn't reply right away. I wanted to see how far he'd go. So I wrote. "Not much. You miss me?" 3 dots. He was typing before I hit send. Since the second I left your driveway. Driveway. My house. My daughter's swing set 10 feet away. My dog barking from the garage. And he was talking about leaving my driveway like it was some scene from a romance film. He wasn't just fantasizing. He'd been here. Recently. And she let it happen. On my turf. I kept going. Think he suspects anything? Marcus. No. He's too proud. Guys like him never think it could happen to them. I read that line 3 times. Guys like him. Not your husband. Not your man. He stripped me of my name, even in a private message. To him, I was just an obstacle. A ghost. Something she'd eventually outgrow. I could feel the heat rise in my chest, not from rage, but from clarity. It wasn't just her betrayal. It was his comfort in it. This wasn't new. This wasn't random. This had been going on. And not behind my back. Right in front of my face. The barbecues. The handshakes. The quick smiles between them I wrote off as shared jokes. I deleted the thread. Closed the phone. Put it back on the nightstand like nothing happened. She stirred in her sleep. Rolled toward me. Whispered something soft. I didn't respond. Because the man she was whispering to? He wasn't lying next to her anymore. The next morning, I told her I was taking a weekend trip alone. She smiled and said, "You deserve it." She had no idea I was driving straight to Marcus. I drove in silence. No music. No talk radio. Just the hum of the engine and my own breathing. It wasn't a rage trip. It was surgical. You don't scream before you cut. You measure. The road stretched for hours. Somewhere between mile marker 77 and the old gas station, it hit me. I wasn't going to confront him. I was going to end the chapter. I had known men like Marcus all my life. Soft smiles. Quick jokes. Always needing help, and always near your wife just long enough to become like family. Truth is, I never trusted him fully. I just kept him close enough to watch. That was my mistake. Because men like that don't stab you from behind. They stand beside you, and wait for you to look the other way. I thought about every time he stepped inside my house. He knew where the spoons were. Knew how my wife took her coffee. Even knew which brand of cereal our daughter liked when she was a kid. I taught him all that. He turned it into a weapon. I pulled into his driveway just after noon. His truck wasn't there. Good. Better to see the space empty than see him breathing in it. I didn't break in. Didn't need to. He hid a spare key behind the back drain pipe. Same place since '03. I walked through his living room like a man walking through the last lie. Family photos. Fishing trophies. A couch we once drank beers on. He'd built his life using pieces of mine. That's when I realized something sharp and clear. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. I didn't need revenge. I needed removal. I took my phone out. Took a single photo of his living room. Captioned it. "This is how close I got. 1 inch from chaos. You'll never see me again." I sent it to him. Blocked the number. I didn't need to make a scene. Because men like me, we don't hit. We disappear. We leave a silence so deep, it rots everything it touches. That night, back home, she handed me her phone, smiling. "Want to see something funny Marcus sent me?" I looked her in the eye and said, "He's gone," and watched her face fall like a tower. She froze mid-laugh. Phone still in her hand. Smile fading. Like her body caught up to something her mind was too slow to process. "What do you mean, he's gone?" I sat down. Calm. Blocked. Cut off. Removed from your life. From mine. From this house. Her lips parted. But nothing came out. And for the first time since this whole thing started, I watched her face break without a single tear. I wasn't expecting an apology. And I didn't get one. Instead, I got a sentence that told me everything. "You had no right. No right. To protect my name. My home. My peace. No right to end what she didn't want to admit had started. She stood there, hands clenched, waiting for me to explode. But I didn't. That's what scared her most. Because when a man stops yelling, it means he's already decided. I looked at her and said, "You made your choice. You just didn't think I'd make mine." She tried to twist it. "It wasn't physical. It wasn't. I don't care what it wasn't," I said. "I care what it replaced. Trust. Time." The part of me that used to tell her everything first, now locked behind a wall she didn't even know she built. She sat down. Small now. Not because I wanted to crush her, but because she finally saw the cost of everything she called harmless. "Where do we go from here?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. Because sometimes, the silence is the answer. That night, I slept in the guest room. Not because I was angry. Because I wanted her to feel what it's like to reach out, and find no one there. The guest room was cold. Sheets stiff. Pillow too high. But I slept better than I had in weeks. Because for the first time, I wasn't pretending. She knocked around 6 a.m. Didn't say anything. Just stood in the hallway, waiting for a version of me that didn't exist anymore. The man who joked. Who made coffee. Who covered the little cracks in her stories with loyalty. He was gone. I didn't yell. Didn't punish. I just pulled back, like a tide. Quiet. Relentless. Irreversible. She tried to fix it the way people do when they're not ready to face the damage. Small gestures. Breakfast on the stove. A text midday. Thinking about you. Even an old photo left out on the counter, the two of us in Venice, smiling like the world couldn't touch us. But I didn't bite. Not because I wanted revenge. Because I finally understood the difference between what looks whole and what's hollow. I wasn't mourning a woman. I was burying the version of myself who tolerated the slow death of honesty. At work, I was sharper. Quieter. One of the guys asked if everything was okay. I looked him in the eye and said, "I'm just adjusting to the weather." Because that's what it felt like. Like the season changed, and I didn't pack what I used to carry. She cried once. I heard it through the door. Not loud. Real. And still. I didn't move. Because I wasn't cruel. I was just done moving towards someone who only met me halfway. On the third night, she asked if I wanted to talk. I looked at her, really looked, and said, "You'll want to sit down for my answer." She sat across from me, knees drawn in, waiting for a rescue. The kitchen felt too quiet. Like even the air didn't want to take sides. "I just want to know," she said, voice shaking, "if you're going to leave." I didn't answer right away. Because when you spend years building something, you don't knock it down in a single sentence. You study the cracks. You remember what it was before it started crumbling. And then, if you're a man, you walk out on your own terms. I looked at her. Not like a lover. Not like a stranger. Like a man looking at a question that already answered itself. "You want the truth?" I said. "Here it is." She nodded. Tried to steady herself. "I'm not angry anymore. I'm not jealous. I'm not heartbroken." Pause. Deep breath. "I'm done." She winced like I'd struck her. But I hadn't raised a hand. Only a mirror. She reached across the table. I didn't move. "You meant everything to me," she whispered. "No," I said. "I meant convenience. I meant stability. I meant not having to start over yet." She blinked, as if the words rewrote the room. "I don't hate you," I added. "But I'm not staying loyal to a version of us that only existed in my head." I stood up. Picked up my coat. She asked, "Where are you going?" I looked back, straight into her. No anger, no affection, just truth. "Somewhere I don't have to ask if I'm being lied to," she called after me once. I didn't turn around. Because the man she betrayed would have looked back. The man walking out that door doesn't. I didn't slam the door. Didn't pack in a fury. Didn't make a scene. Just grabbed my keys, my wallet, and the last part of myself she hadn't touched. I stayed in a motel that night. No calls. No TV. Just quiet. Real quiet, the kind that doesn't ache. She texted once. Can we talk? I didn't answer. Because some things don't need closure. They need distance. I didn't leave out of pride. Or anger. Or some need to win. I left because staying would have meant pretending. And I've played strong too long to pretend I didn't see what I saw. Now, I don't hate her. I just don't carry her. Some names stay in your phone, even after the meaning's gone. Hers isn't one of them. I let her go the same way she let me fade. Quietly. Fully. Without a second glance. She told me it was just texting. And maybe it was. But now she has nothing to say, and no one left to send it to. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read them all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to help this video reach more viewers. See you in the next one.